Young. I am the program director and also an instructor for the Marital and Family Therapy with specialized training in art therapy program here at LMU. And I have with us this evening Tracy Gamble, who is our senior administrative coordinator, who is also assisting tonight. And later, we're expecting one of our students, Kennedy, to also come and join us to greet you today. So welcome. We're really excited to have all of you here. I can't see all your faces at the moment as the slides are up. So we'll be communicating via chat, but I just want to tell you a little bit about how the evening is going to go. I'm going to do an overview here, fun slides. Everyone loves slides, no, but I'm going to give you lots of information this evening about the program, about admissions, and leave some time at the end to also answer specific questions. You can also put some of your questions in the chat, and Tracy's going to try to, some of them, if she can answer quickly, she'll answer them there while I'm speaking. Other ones she'll summarize for me, and I'll try to address them at the end. I do ask if you have specific questions about your particular circumstances or application that may not apply to most people. If you could email me after this evening, and Tracy will put an email address into the chat for you as well, and we'll do that again later in the evening, and it'll just be easier for me to answer questions that way. And then I'm going to try to have a hard stop at 5:30, also so that you can go on to the other programs that we have for you this evening that start at 6 o'clock. And we'll talk about those a little bit later. But again, I want to welcome all of you who are here. I know some of you are here because you're either actively applying for our next academic year, or you're interested in applying and have some questions. And some of you with us maybe just learning about art therapy and what art therapy training is, and are just curious about that. So this is a space for all of that. And this is a conversation that I love to have. I'm very enthusiastic about being an art therapist. And I'm also very proud of I graduated from this program, and I'm also very proud of the education that I've received and the work that I get to do. So I hope that also comes across this evening for you. But let's go ahead and get started. And I'm also, throughout this presentation, is going to try to highlight what makes this particular program distinct from others, because you do have many choices as well too. And you may be looking at different things as well. So first of all, I want to introduce you to our dean. This is Dean Alexander. And Dean Alexander is one of the reasons that makes our program very distinct from others. We have a very involved dean in our program. He's very supportive. He loves the work that we're doing, and he's very visible. If you weren't aware before, our program is part of the College of Communication and Fine Arts. So that makes a little bit of a difference too. And what's significant about that for us is that we really emphasize and integrate the art into our program. So we're a marriage and family therapy and an art therapy program. So it's also almost like a dual degree program. We prepare you to be registered and licensed in both of those areas. But all of our classes are integrated. So there's not a separate MFT track and a separate art therapy track. All those classes are integrated, and the art is really central. So being part of the fine arts department or college here is really important to us. We also have an ongoing relationship where our students have graduate assistantships in the art department, in the fine arts department classes. And also our students each year curate their own art exhibit in the beginning of the school year. And it's housed at the LeBan Gallery in the College of Communication and Fine Arts. So we nurture that relationship and our artist relationship in the department or in our program as well. And here is Helen B. Landgarten. She is one of our founders of the clinical art therapy program, and I'm going to talk more about that in a bit, about what's clinical art therapy. But she was the one that had an interest in having art therapy be a primary modality in therapy, and be very central, and that art therapists be primary therapists. And that's where we get our clinical art therapy program that we have today. And she's also the namesake for our clinic. And then what is art therapy? Again, those of you who are applying, maybe also still are trying to understand the world of what is this that you're getting yourself into. And it is a distinctive clinical, and I say clinical art therapy program, because you are being trained as a clinician and how to use art as a clinician to work with clients who are dealing with a mental illness, a diagnosis, and in different spaces and places. And so it's an integrated program. It's its own profession in which it includes the creative process, art making, art media, but also psychological theory, counseling techniques, and an understanding of human development. So this is something that was developed over time across psychiatry, the arts world, and education. And it includes all these things. And we use art therapy anywhere where you find people, is what I like to say. Wherever there are humans is where art therapy can be used and is used in a variety of settings. We're in hospitals and schools, in prison systems, community mental health agencies. We're out in the community a lot, out in the neighborhood. There's all different places, and we serve many, many different needs. Helping with building relationships, help with community building, helping with self-awareness and self-esteem, building social skills, resolving conflict and distress. We work with the entire lifespan. We have students that work with 0 to 5 populations with infants, all the way up through older adults and at our different stages of life. So it encompasses very much of all of the human experience when we're talking about art therapy. Now, specific to our program, our particular program, let me move this out the way for a minute. It integrates art therapy and family therapy systems. So again, we talked about that before. We're doing 2 different programs that are very much integrated in how we look at it in our perspective. It also embraces a multicultural focus, and that's embedded throughout our curriculum. It's a focus throughout our community outreach efforts, and also through our practicum experiences, and also through our international programs, our study abroad program that I will talk about a little bit later. This program, you should know, is approved by the American Art Therapy Association. It's approved by the California Board of Behavioral Sciences, for the BBS. And what that means is you will meet the educational requirements to apply to be registered as an art therapist. So in California, we just have registration as an art therapist. If you move to other states, you may apply to have a license in art therapy. And also for the MFT, you meet requirements to apply to be licensed as a marriage and family therapist in the state of California. So there may be other requirements if you plan to practice and move to another state, but you'll be qualified in the state of California. And we all are also fully accredited. Okay, so here is a little picture of the entrance to our suite here, our Marriage and Family Therapy suite, located in University Hall. And also the doorway there says the Hellevue Land Art Therapy Clinic. That's really the doorway to our library. And what I like to mention here about our clinic has no walls. When we say about our art therapy clinic, our art therapy clinic is out in the community wherever we are working is where the clinic is. And again, I'll share a little bit more about that later in this presentation if you have questions. I'm introducing you to our faculty. So I'm gonna give you like a little brief introduction to our full-time faculty here. Later in the spring, we will also have a faculty showcase where you can learn more about our current faculty's research and perspectives and philosophies and education, and you can get to know them a little bit better, which sometimes helps when you're choosing a program as well. Who are the people who are actually teaching the courses and what are their perspectives? Right here, I'll share a little bit about them. But what sets us apart also as a program compared to other art therapy programs is our faculty. Our faculty is published. A lot of their work is referenced by other therapists and art therapists across disciplines. They're very active advocates in the community and nationally. They're also participate very much within the university as well too. So they do a lot of talks and offerings within LMU community as well as outside the university. In addition, they're very active and on the boards of our professional organizations like the American Art Therapy Association or the Southern California Art Therapy Association, or even CAMP, which is our California Marital and Family Therapist Association. So it'll be, it's a little bit unusual where you have so many people that you're reading about their works or being trained by them all in one setting, and you get to have that here. So the first person to introduce you to is Dr. Lavinia Jackson. She is our department chair and associate professor. And her research focus is cultural humility. And that'll be one of your textbooks, Cultural Humility in Art Therapy. And she's referenced a lot in a lot of other work as well. And then you may have me as a professor as well when you start your practicum and do a lot of the supervision courses. But I'm also the program director of the department. So some of you, we have communicated by email already, or we will in the future. And my role is not just to help with the application process, but for those once you're admitted, and if you choose to be at LMU, my role is also to support you completing the program as well. So you get a lot of support here. And then we have Dr. Jessica Bianchi. You'll notice she has her EDD. So her focus is educational leadership and social justice. So she does a lot of work with looking at how art therapy enhances educational systems. And so you get a lot of opportunities to do things outside the classroom through the work that she's doing. She's also the director of our Helen B. Landgarten Clinic, which again, I'm going to go back to that and share a little bit more about what happens in the clinic. And then we have Dr. Joyce Green, who has a background in international psychology. And she does a lot of cultural work as well. And she's also the head of our Art Therapy Research Institute and also our international program in Mexico. And then we have our newest professor. We're very happy to have her with us, is Dr. Nancy Cho. She has been working with us for a while and is now, our full-time professor in our program, but her research focuses on digital tools used for therapeutic art making. So that's the wave of the future. And also we do a lot of virtual reality work as well. She and Dr. Green integrate that into our program. So we also have, we're looking about more contemporary practices in therapy and art therapy, and we have the professors who are current on the research of all of that. And then we have Dr. Maru Sarichio Joyner, also our full-time professor, who does she also has a background in international psychology, but also looks at work in grief and support in the workplace. So grief response and support in the workplace. And also a lot of research focuses on suicide prevention and intervention as well. And then we have Kathleen Fogel-Richmond. So I want to say more about her role as practicum coordinator. This is another thing that distinguishes our program from other programs. Most programs do not have a full-time practicum coordinator. So what she does is actually, in this program, you get two practicums, one your second semester of your first year in the program, and then you get a full year one, your second year of the program. That's pretty unusual to start that soon, and to have those practicums matched for you. Typically in other programs, particularly MFT programs, you have to find your own practicum experiences. But we have a full-time practicum coordinator who works with you and meets with you to try to make a match for you to have the best practicum experience. And that's when you're actually out in the field doing art therapy with clients. So it's very special to have that. She's super accessible as well. And then I mentioned, also new to our department as well, and very happy to have her, Tracy Gamble. She may have been your first point of contact by phone or email. And she's in charge of a lot. She keeps us all together and coordinates a lot of our projects and experiences. So we rely on her very much. So now I'm going to go a little bit into, or a lot into, what the program would actually look like semester to semester. We have a full-time program that's 2 years, so I'm going to go through that for you. But we also have what we call a part-time program that takes 3 years. And a lot of people are sometimes attracted to the 3-year program because it just, you'll see, there's a lot of classes that you have to take. So, but to have them spread out a little bit sometimes is the best. In order to work part. Also, once you start and you're enrolled in the program, you can switch. If you decide you need to switch to the 2-year, want to switch to the 3-year program. You don't have to know that right away. And I'm actually going to pause for a sec going into a different part of the if there's any, can just answer quickly.
Sorry, you're breaking off.
There's no, oh.
I don't know if anybody else is experiencing that.
I thought it was just me. I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh no, please say something.
Yeah, it's breaking up for me too as well.
We lost you around
at first. I was like, what's going on my phone?
Did it just start?
It was
we
doing
lost
it for
you around the difference between the part-time, the 2-year and the 3-year program. You started cutting out.
Oh, okay, that's not so bad. So you didn't lose the whole thing. How is it now? Is it still breaking up?
It's clear now.
A lot better.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, good. Thank you. Please let me know. I mean, I'm not sure how to fix it, but I want to pause if you're not getting the information. Because again, it's hard for me to tell from my view of the screen what's happening for you over there. So I'll repeat again about the 2 programs because that's what we're going to go into next. I was saying we have a 2-year full-time program and a part-time 3-year program. And usually the 3-year program appeals to people who have to work. Part-time, it's really hard to do either one full-time. I'm going to let you know that right now, and maybe I can talk about that a little bit later. It's very hard to hold a job and do what's required of this program. But we have to sometimes, to pay for it. And so the 3-year program can be a better fit for that. Or if you have other responsibilities, like I said, you're a primary caregiver for something or for any other reasons, or sometimes your learning style is you'd rather have those classes spread out. But you can, once you start the program, also switch which track you want to do if you decide you need a change as well. So that's fine. I will say too, even though we say a part-time program, when I show you the courses and things, we are a 60-unit program. It is a lot, even for part-time. So you want to kind of think about that as you're entering this. It's still a full load compared to other programs, what we're calling part-time. Okay, so we're looking at the first year, first semester, if you're doing the full-time program that you complete in 2 years. Our classes are only on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. That pretty much stays. So if you need to think about, you know, your life around that, that's when your classes would be. Only on Tuesday, Wednesdays, Thursdays. So you can see that I'm not going to go through all the classes, but you can see the sort of classes you would be taking there. And all of this that I'm showing you too, the course schedule for the 2-year and 3-year program are all on our website. So don't worry about trying to absorb any of this. Everything I'm telling you is on our website. So you can view it at your leisure and you'll know exactly what you're walking into and what your classes and days would look like. So the first semester is really about learning to use the art in different ways, reflecting and having different experiences. And then we also have a lot of field work experiences with our classes as well. So you get to leave the school grounds and actually see what this looks like and see, you know, what the children or students or different people you'd be working with in their own setting. So here we have a long relationship with the Dolores Mission School. So your first semester field experience, so to speak, is usually at that school, where you get to see the students in their own environments and you do some type of therapeutic art making activity. You're not doing therapy in this field experience, but you are using art with them and talking about what it looks like at these different ages to use the art. And then now we're going into your second semester of spring. And again, you see your classes are mostly on Tuesdays and Thursdays in the spring. So there's no Wednesday classes. And you see here we go into now, we started from child therapy. So now we're in adolescent therapy. We're going to theories and ethics. You see we cover telehealth and contemporary practices because a lot of us are still practicing that way virtually. So now our students are really being trained on that even after the pandemic. You get your art-based exploration, a diversity, equity, and inclusion in treatment classes. And then you get your trauma class and suicide prevention and assessment at this time too. And also in the spring is when you start your first practicum. And again, what we mean by that is that you'll be assigned to a work site and with clients and up to 16 hours per week, but I think is actually usually about 10 hours per week that you're expected. And you're fully supported in this practicum. It's sometimes a little jarring that we start the practicum so soon, but we actually provide art therapy supervision for you at the school site in the classroom, and we also provide a clinical supervisor for you. And you also will have a practicum class where you're talking about clinical issues. So you're fully supported in this experience, which again is unique for our program. And then here, in the second semester, the adolescent psychotherapy, this is another field experience you have. Sometimes they go to Central Juvenile Hall, and then sometimes there's these 2 other high schools where you would do art experientials there as well. So you get to interact not just with the students, but also looking at the environment and culture of these different schools and spaces as well with the teachers and other service providers and what it's like to work in these different settings. And the reason why we do this as well is that it helps that when you go into your practicum, these field experiences help to lower the anxiety a little bit. Again, not that you're doing therapy in the field experiences that are related to your classroom, but it does help to see how some of these theories begin to be applied. And here again, just talking about what the first practicum is about. It's 15 weeks. You could be working with children, adolescents, or adults. We have a wide variety of different placements. In the first practicum, you're looking at short-term treatment because you're with them for some. So you're looking at what short-term treatment, which is good training because when you go out into the field after you're working in community agencies, they really promote short-term treatment. Are you all hear me still okay?
It was good right till the end and you started to break up again.
Okay, I thought so because I got a little message that popped up. So my apologies for that. I think where I left off, I was just saying this is good experience to have short-term treatment because a lot of community mental health agencies actually promote short-term treatment. So it may not feel satisfying to you as a trainee at that time to not be with your clients as long, but it is good training because that's the reality of our work in some places.
Hi, sorry, I just have a quick question.
Yes.
You might have covered this before I joined, so sorry if that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
For the program, is it only starting in fall semesters or does it start in spring as well?
No, thank you for asking that because I did not mention that in the beginning. So we only have a fall start.
Okay, that's kind of what I figured. Thank you.
No, thank you for asking that because I did not mention that and that's important to know. The application for fall 2025 is due this November, the 25th, 2024, if you're planning to start the next academic year. And yes, we only have fall enrollment, not spring. Thank you for asking that, Ashley. That was an oversight on my part. So then we have our summer classes and you can see the classes that are here. And again, here's another field study that's linked to our aging and long-term care. So you continue with that. And then we have a second summer session, but this one is optional. So this is our international program that's in Mexico. We originated the program in San Miguel de Allende. Last year, they actually had the class moved to Mexico City. And this year, I was just informed that we're going to have our program in Oaxaca, Mexico. So it's evolving. And it's where our students get to join an art therapy program with other Mexican students as well. And it's kind of like a cultural exchange program. And this year is a little bit different than it's been in the past before, meaning 1 week is going to be virtual. And then the second week is actually going to be in Oaxaca. So you can choose to do 1 week or 2 weeks of the program. And also, we'll see, but last year, alumni were also welcome to join, so you get that experience as well. And actually, this is one of the reasons why I actually chose to go to this program because of their international study abroad program. And then now we're in the second year, third semester. You see, some of the class there, we go into cultural considerations, and then we start preparing for our research. So you do a research project as part of your graduation requirements, but our research is done in groups and under the supervision of one of our faculty members. That's how we're doing our research now. And then it's also the year where you start your second practicum, which is a full year. So this time we're looking at more long-term care with your practicum. Okay, so here your practicum is 30 weeks. You work 20 hours per week. Again, there's a wide range of different populations and work sites and communities that we work in. So you can usually find what your interest is. And again, we do provide a art therapy supervisor for you and a clinical supervisor. So you don't ever have to do that on your own. That's part of the program. And this is just a map showing through all of Southern California and actually Central California. For those of you who are familiar with California, they're spread throughout. all our different practicums. They're not just around the university, because a lot of our students also commute a great distance. And so we try the best we can to find practicums near where our students are living, to make it a little bit easier for them. And also some of our students may not have vehicles. So we try to work things out with you as best we can to do a match, even for circumstances like that, like for practical circumstances beyond just your clinical interest. Okay, and we're in our last and final semester of the second year. And again, you're continuing and finishing your research papers. We're going into human sexuality, couples, and adult therapy, and completing your practicums. And this is also when you're doing, and at this time too, they also provide, like, our classes are set up to provide you, prepare you for the ethics exam that you need to take post-graduation in order for licensure. Okay, now I want to pause there for a minute. Tracy, are there any questions just about what I've covered so far?
Not in the
Go through
chat.
this 3-year program?
And
Okay.
not in the
All right,
program,
so I'm gonna keep going. Y'all stretch, stamina, the slides. Okay. So now I'm gonna go into the 3-year program. Oh, wait, sorry, I just seen someone come off mute. Was there a question? Nope, okay. So the 3-year program. So again, it's the same courses, they're just spread out a little differently. So I don't know if you noticed, but for the 2-year program, your first semester, you're taking 8 classes. So, all at once. So those classes get spread out if you're in the 3-year program and you're on campus fewer days. So you may be in the first semester, 2 out of the 3 days you're actually on campus. So I'm not going to go through all the classes here, but you can see here in the first semester, you're taking 5 classes, and then a little bit how these are spread out. And again, maybe Tracy will put a link to the course schedule in the chat if she hasn't already, so you can look at that at your leisure about how the classes are spread out. And also you should know with the 3-year program, the cohort, and I should explain that too. We are a cohort program, so that means the size of our cohort or classes that are admitted are usually between 19 and 25 students, usually 25 students at the most that we'll have in a class. And that's your cohort, meaning that's the class you start and end with, because our program is you can only take classes at certain times. Like you can't say, oh, well, I'll take child next year in the fall, or things like that. There's a specific program that you follow with that group of students that you're admitted with until you graduate. Now, if you're in a 3-year program, just because the way your classes are spread out, you may start with one cohort, but you will graduate with a second cohort. And people have different feelings about that, but you just get to know more people also as well. And you have a larger community upon graduation is how I like to look at it. So I'm just gonna go through that. So this is just going back to our clinic, because our clinic is very important to mention, because that's a lot. Many of our students' homes is through the clinic. Like, remember, the clinic is like out in the community. So it doesn't mean you're on campus doing work and seeing clients. You may be at schools and other places. What were you gonna say, Tracy?
You're glitching. Can you repeat some of what you said?
Yes, thank you for letting me know. I was explaining that the clinic is super important part of our program. Can you hear me okay now? Okay, it's a super important part of our program because that's where a lot of our students get their clinical experience. And also that's where you usually will do your first practicum. And when I say that, you're still out in the field at schools or senior adult facilities or different places. When I say clinic, it's not that you're working on campus. It's wherever our work is contracted in these different places and communities. But also have a lot of partnerships with a lot of places. The most exciting thing recently is that we've partnered with the LMU Law School and do collaborative divorce training. And so we actually work with other law students, bringing art therapy into to couples who are divorcing and using that program. So that's been really exciting. We have a summer arts workshop that's been long-standing, where we have middle and high school students actually come to the program, come to the campus, and we do a lovely program with them. We have a long-standing relationship with Thomas Riley High School, where we've worked with pregnant and parenting teens. That program has since expanded beyond just pregnant and parenting teens as well, and we do more group art therapy there. And then we also work with Cedars-Sinai Hospital doing art therapy for those with cancer diagnoses. And also we have a supervision consultation program. So that's also good to know, like, how are our educators and trainers being trained and how are they being taken care of? So the clinic also provides services to your supervisors so that they also have a space to continue to learn and consult and provide the best supervision possible. And then another exciting thing for us that we provide is the Art Therapy Research Institute. So there are things that we do within the department, like we have our Art Annual Research Symposium, we have our Journal of Clinical Art Therapy, so we have our own journal. There's faculty talks that we do throughout the university that everyone in the university is invited to. We invite scholars to come and speak at our schools as well. But also what's really important is, like, what is the connection with the department after you graduate? And we also have an art therapy alumni research cohort. So those who are still interested in research, but they're not connected with the university, they can be part of that cohort and continue and get support for their research beyond completing the program. Okay. Now the fun stuff we're here for. So if you're ready to actually apply, or you're in the middle of applying and just need to hit submit and have some questions, here are some things. And the photograph you're looking at is actually from our summer arts program. And I believe that is actually out on our green outside of our suite. So you get to see partly what our campus looks at, like where we would work. So you can go out there anytime if you're here. Okay, I'm going to pause one more time before I go into this. Any questions I can answer right now about what I've talked about so far? Again, we'll have Q&A at the end, but I just want to check in. Okay, everyone still with me?
Sorry, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Regarding the classes in the curriculum, could you start those at a community college, like get a head start on any of those that you would know?
Nope. And thank you for asking. So you cannot transfer classes into our program. You can't get a head start, or this our program is very specific and has a specific sequence for a reason. But also the thing is, it's not likely you can find an equivalent course to the classes that we're offering, because our courses are integrated. We're providing and we're very meticulous about meeting the requirements for the Board of Behavioral Sciences, which is our MFT program, and the Art Therapy Credential Board requirements for our art therapy courses. And because they're integrated, we have to be very careful that we meet those. And there's no other place likely where you're going to get that same integrated course where it's like 1-for-1. So that's also the reason. And also for those of you who may be out of state, there might be different requirements for like an MFT program in another state. So even that may not be 1-to-1 equivalent as well. So.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Okay, I'm an older student. I'm wondering, like, how long do my credits from like 1987, would they be okay for the prerequisite, or would I have to take those classes again somewhere else?
Perfect. I'm going to answer that right now, because that's a yes and a no. So in terms of if you have, so one of the requirements, and we're going to go through that too, is that you have a bachelor's degree. We do not specify what your bachelor's degree needs to be in, and we don't specify when it needed to be completed. Because because that's usually a question sometimes. So you do not have to have already had a undergraduate degree in psychology or art to apply to this program. But because of that, we do have specific prerequisites in studio art and psychology that you must take to be in this program. To apply to this program. And we do understand that some of these may not be complete if they're in progress at the time of your application. But we want to know that you're working on it, and I will explain how you document that as well. So if you're completing some of these, but you know and have a plan to have them all complete, should you be admitted before classes start, you can still apply, but you cannot take these prerequisites once the school term starts. Everything has to be done before it starts. So the studio art classes is 18 semester hours if you went to a semester program school, or 27 quarter-hour credits to complete. And when we say studio art, there must be art making involved. There can be and we're looking for a variety of art disciplines, but art history and theory do not apply. And the reason we have that is because we need to know you have some skill and comfort in using different art materials, because that's our tool as art therapists. You don't have to have mastered all these things, but we need to know that you've had some experience of your own working and using these different media. Now, the prerequisites for psychology is where the time limit may come in. So for those courses, it's 12 semester hours of psychology, or 18 quarter hours or credits. And 2 of them must be either in developmental psychology, which could be child, adolescent, it might be called lifespan, and the other one has to be in abnormal psychology. The rest of them can be in whatever psychology class that you choose. But with this, they have to have been completed within the last 5 years. And the reason for that is so much in the psychology field that changes. And we want to make sure that you have a foundation of the most up-to-date information in psychology before taking our courses, so you can actually be successful at them. And I'll say, again, you do not have to have had a psychology background or bachelor's to apply to our program, but this foundation in psychology is super important, because once you start our classes, you dive right into these things, and it could be a very new language for people who don't have this experience prior. So you want to make sure that you have completed these prerequisites, and that's why they need to be within the last 5 years. Sometimes we can have a grace period if it was then between 5 and 7 years. In that case, you just need to email me your transcripts and course descriptions, and I can look at it and see whether or not we'd be able to approve that class. So don't give up on that, but we have, if it was like 10 years ago, a psychology class, we won't be able to take it. And yes, you will have to retake that class as a prerequisite.
I have a question in regards to that, because I got my
Yes.
bachelor's in psychology with a minor in art, but it was like 7 years ago. But directly after and during, while I was obtaining those degrees, I worked in the field of abnormal psychology. So I'm just wondering if like work experience would qualify, in lieu of the time period. But I think it'd be exactly like 7 years is the number, of years since I got those degrees.
Yes. So that you'd have to email me directly about, because I wouldn't be able to answer that. In terms of experience, because I do get a lot of questions like that, work experience and that will not count as prerequisites.
Right.
But your other, so the experience won't, but your classes, and since you had a degree in psychology, that may be weighted a little bit different since it's within that window, but that you would have to email me directly about. But that's separate than just like counting experience. But I'm glad you asked that, because I get that question a lot too about could experience count. And I also want to know, which is not that we don't value it, but we just don't have a measure to see how that would count towards credits and things that we're asked to do. And also just to understand too, just to name it, The prerequisites are not arbitrary. They are required by, like I said, the Board of Behavioral Sciences for the MFT and the Credential Board for the art therapy, because if they ever did an audit, you need to be able to show that you have taken these specific classes. So it comes from that outside of our program. It's not a program thing. But you can take these classes at any accredited college, university, junior or community college. We don't specify that. And it could be an online course or in person. That's up to you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, and thank you everyone for your questions, because you're helping me cover stuff that I may be overlooking or forgetting. So again, and all of this stuff is on our website, and I'm sure Tracy's also been putting the links in the chat too, just so you can look at it at your leisure. But like I said, bachelor's degree, the GRE is no longer required at all. We say if you, for example, do not feel confident about your prior academic record, because sometimes things happen, right? And your transcripts will not show that you're perhaps ready for graduate study. If you're concerned about that, then you may want to take the GRE. But again, that's a personal choice, or you can write to me and ask, does that seem necessary? But it's not something we're looking for. But if you feel like it needs to supplement your application, go ahead and take it. You need 2 letters of recommendation. The autobiography is super important. That's where you get to share your whole journey to art therapy and what you're looking to get out of the program. The portfolio and statement is also super important. And this is an art portfolio where you get to select 10 images of your own art to include it. And I want to explain for this. When we're looking at the art images, you do not have to, again, have been a fine art student. We're not looking for your skill level in the art that you're making. What we want to see is a variety of different uses of art, but most important are the images that you choose that you then write your statement about. It's really important that you're able to reflect on the art process, to talk about the psychological content of your art, because that's what you'll be doing in your classes and in the field when you're doing your practicum. So that's what we're looking for, is what's personal about the pieces that you've chosen, what do they say about you, and what do you say about them? And then the other part, there's an online interview. So when you apply, so the application is online, and you can open it up at any time and look at it and then start filling in some of these components. And one of them will be an online interview. So there'll be a list of questions that we want you to answer, and just record yourself answering it. You can redo the recording as many times as you want until you hit submit for the application, and then it's locked in, but you can practice that if you want to. We cannot look at applications that do not have the autobiography, the portfolio, or the online interview included. Again, sometimes we understand you may have some prerequisites that you're still working on, that we understand. Sometimes there might be a recommendation that's still coming in, that we might be able to understand, but we cannot review your application without the autobiography, the portfolio, or the online interview. We need those 3 things to even look at your application. And the other thing we need is your prerequisite checklist. So this is the form where you'll write down all the classes for the prerequisites, the studio art and psychology ones that you've taken, but it's also where you'll write if there's still some psychology classes, for example, you still need to take. You will just tell us the name of the course number, where do you plan to take it, and when. So we just need to know that you're committed to a plan to complete these prerequisites. Should you be admitted, that they will all be complete before you start the program. Because if they are not, you will not be able to start the program, and we cannot honor your offer of admission. So, and I can explain that again, because that's usually the part where people get stuck with the application. If you don't have any of them completed, but people do. Sometimes people find a way to do it and get a lot of them done and done on time. But that's also where you may be making your choice of whether you're going to apply for this coming school year or if you want to wait so you can pace these out, because it is a cost of time and money to complete them if you're having to do most of them. And we understand that. Okay, I want to pause again for any questions about all that stuff that just came out of my mouth.
I had a question.
Yes, please. Just go ahead and name it.
Okay, it's about the letters of rec. Does it have to be like from a professor, or can it be from someone that you know, like a coworker or a supervisor that you previously worked with?
Yes, if you feel like that person can speak to why you'd be a good person for this field or for this program, then yes. If you feel like the experience they can speak to is relevant to your application, yes.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
I have
a question about the portfolio.
Okay, yes, I'm gonna take that question, and then I see Hortensia actually has a hand up. So Hortensia, you're next, but go ahead. Is it Haley? I'm sorry, I can't see it very well. Okay, go ahead, Haley.
So I was wondering if there's a piece like a sculpture, like sculptural or ceramic piece that has like multiple sides to it that you'd like to show. Is there a way to do that that you would recommend? Or is it just one photo per
You may be able to, this may be a logistical thing I have to check in about, because I like actually go into the system. You should be able to, I think, add more than one image, but it would count as one entry. Does that make sense? So if you need to do image each side.
Yeah, so if you do an image, so 2 images for a single piece, then it would take up 2 out of the 10 images that you're allowed to input.
That's what I mean. I would actually have to check in with that, because again, that's just kind of like a software programming thing with the application. I don't think there'll be a limit on how many images. You just need to have at least 10 images. I don't think that it'll like reject if you have like 11. But I would need to confirm that, because it's more about how does that online app works versus like what we will accept. But I would say go ahead and try to load the multiple images for that one thing. And if it becomes a technical issue, just let us know.
Okay, thank you.
We can figure something out. Hortensia?
Hi, Ginia. Thank you for your presentation and this valuable information. My question is, how does this program differ from the traditional MFT program? Like, what do students here will not get that the traditional program gives you? And what do you get in exchange? You know, I think you cannot cover 2 complete programs, or do you get absolutely everything that you would in a traditional LMFT program?
So yes, you do. So you should think about this as a dual degree program, because you do get everything, all the requirements and complete requirements for the MFT, and you get all the complete requirements for the art therapy. We just find ways to overlap those things in terms of your experience in the classroom. And a lot of the things, the theories and stuff that you're studying at MFT are also already what we do as art therapists anyway. But we're fully accredited for both. All of our classes are checked for both. So you do get the full MFT program. And as you would anywhere else, it's just you also get to meet the requirements to be an art therapist, should you choose to do so.
Okay, so then my question is, do you also learn other methods of therapy, or you only focus on art therapy? Because in a traditional LMFT, you'd be practicing different psychotherapy techniques.
Yes, because we are fully accredited for the MFT program, so we will be required, and you'll see through the courses, you learn all those other different theories and contemporary practices that you would find in an MFT only program, because we're required to do that.
So when we do our clinical practicum and we have people supervising our work, we would be practicing different styles of therapy, Or
Yes, all your practicums, you work alongside other MFTs and social workers that are from other programs. You do the exact same practicums as everyone else. It's only as when we contract with the places where you're working with, our expectation is that they also allow you to do art therapy with your clients. It's not instead of, and you're not hired as an art therapist. They're all like MFT. But thank you for asking to make that distinction, because I get that's a concern. No, you are fully both. It's you very much have a dual identity in this. It's kind of hard to picture.
No,
but
I get it. My concern is that, you know, not all your clients will feel comfortable with art. And so you kind of have to have several aces in your pocket so you can approach. I mean, we all, the people who are here, I'm sure we all love art and we love art therapy, but not all our clients might feel comfortable with that. So if we can approach the therapeutic process with other techniques.
Well, yeah, and I'm gonna answer that quickly because that's another kind of like philosophical question, but I want to get to other people's other questions as well. I mean, something to think about. Well, there's two things I want to say. One thing is something to think about is if we're doing any type of therapy, people may not be receptive of it. So it's not just the art. There are other types of therapies that we do that people may be resistant to or it doesn't work for them. So we want to start thinking about art therapy in that respect. It's just another modality that may, you know, they want it or not want it. But also to think about if you're applying to this program, it really is an investment in you wanting to be an art therapist. Because it's a lot of work. You really want to think about it as a dual program because you're doing twice as much work as anyone else in just an MFT only program. So if you just want, if that's your main objective is to get the MFT, you want to reconsider whether this is the place where you want to invest in, because it is a lot and we do focus on the art integrated into that. And everyone's looking for something different. So I just want you to like really be mindful of that when you're looking at different programs. Emily, I think, was waiting.
Hi, yeah. Just a quick question. So here it says if the candidate advances, then there's a group interview on the LMU campus. Online it says it's virtual. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yes, let me get to that part. Let's see. Okay, so on here, so the group interview is actually virtual.
Okay.
Yes, thank you for asking that too, because I want to clarify that if it's stated differently somewhere else. The group interview is definitely virtual. It's going to be on February 8th and 9th of this year. And not everyone advances to the group interview. So once you apply, all the applications will look at, and then from that group, there are some of the applicants who will move and advance to the virtual group interview, but not everyone advances to the group interview. And what the group interview is, it's over these 2 days. So you'll be scheduled on the 8th or the 9th. You would not be scheduled for both days. You either have it on the 8th or the 9th. And you do an art experiential with other applicants, with one of our faculty members. And the intention of that is that looking at it on paper or video is great, but we also want to see how you interact with other people. How do you talk about the art and listen to and witness others with the art with other people? Because that's very much what your classroom experiences will be like. So, because again, you're a cohort program. So we're trying to, as best as possible, put together these cohorts and give you an experience of what the classroom experience would be and how well you fit into that, as well as why we have the group interview. Let me check. I see there's some hands, but let me just check. Is there, I want to take one or two questions about the application first before I go into financial aid. I think Sharon, you were waiting?
Hi. So I know I'd have to take the prerequisites because it was too long ago, but you count a degree that was 10 plus years.
Yes, the degree is fine. Yes, it's just the prerequisites. And again, it's only because specifically the psychology prerequisites, so much changes very quickly. You would feel really behind jumping into our courses, not having those updated information. And that's the only reason why.
I understand. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. And then Lewis?
Yeah, I never heard you say anything about transcripts. I just wanted to make sure.
Yes, yes. So what you're gonna submit, yes, you have to submit transcripts for your bachelor's degree, thank you. And you have to submit transcripts that show that you've completed all those prerequisites, because you must have completed them and completed them for a passing grade. And the only way we have evidence of that is for the transcripts from the institution where you completed those courses. So yes, that's part of the application. Thank you. Let me just Tracy, is there anyone else I'm missing? Because I may not be able to see everyone.
Yes, there's a question about when we will open the applications for fall 2026.
Oh, I'm trying to, I don't want to make that up. There's probably after, you know what, let me check back.
I can answer that one really quick.
Oh, thank you,
So,
Emily.
yeah, typically we'll open them once the full cycle has gone through.
Yeah, that's what she
You know, focus on year by year.
Yes.
Yeah, so typically that happens in the spring semester. So I would just keep an eye out. You can also always start an application, and then once it comes to the next semester, you can switch it over once it opens. So as long as you don't hit the submit button, you can you can start working on it, messing around a little bit, and then switch the semester once we open it.
Oh, thank you for adding that, Emily. And I neglected to introduce Emily. This is the kind of program and school you're coming to. Everyone is involved and visible, and she's from Graduate Admissions, and she's here with us this evening as well to offer support and make sure you get the information that you need. So
Kennedy just joined us as well.
oh yes, welcome, Kennedy. Kennedy, I mentioned, is actually in first semester student in our program, a current student as well, is also joining us this evening. Thank you, Kennedy.
I have a question.
Let's see. Well, Tracy, you're able to see, I want to just make sure I'm addressing people's questions in order too.
Sure. Just a question about, is it okay if our art piece we talk about in our video is the same one we expand upon in our portfolio statement? That was one question. I'm not sure if Macy asked.
Yes, the video per se doesn't necessarily ask you to go into the art as much, but yes, it can be. If you mention the piece in one area of the application, yes, you can definitely talk about it again somewhere else. Because you might, for example, mention something in your autobiography, and then if you expand on that later somewhere else, yes, we'll be looking for that too.
Thank you.
There's another question. Is there a way to submit a video? It seems that it says I made a GIF out of the video, but it is a lower quality. Is that okay?
For the portfolio, right now, my understanding is that our application does not support video for your portfolio. They must be still images.
Okay.
Any other general admission questions?
Question. I'm not sure how to get on the list of how to ask a question.
Oh, I hear your voice now. Just say it.
Okay. As far as the portfolio, I know that studio art classes are required for the program. Yes. But in addition to that, I do other forms of art with sewing, knitting, yarn, fabric. Can those pieces be included in our portfolio?
Yes. Thank you for asking that. So in your portfolio, yes. The images you have in your portfolio do not have to have been completed in your art classes. They do not need to be related. There are studio art prerequisites that we require, right? But the images, the art that you put in your portfolio does not have to have been connected with any kind of course or class. As long as it was made by you, you can include it in your portfolio. Thank you for asking that, because I want to make that distinction. We're not looking for pieces that necessarily came from your classes or that have anything, evidence that you took the class. The portfolio is totally separate and could be something even from your art journal or that you made, as long as there's a specific purpose why you chose to include it, That's all that matters to us. It doesn't matter when or where that piece was made. And it does not need to be connected to a class that you took at all.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other kind of admission questions? I mean, I'm still going to do Q&A again if there's something you think of, and you can put questions in the chat as well. But I just want to make sure there's not one burning question before I move on to the money.
I have a question about the letters of recommendation.
Yes.
So I'm reapplying because I applied last year.
Yes.
But I was wondering about the letters of recommendation. Like mine last year were like they were kind of old, and I could get some like updated from the prerequisites classes that I took recently. Is it better to have updated, like more recent, or does that really not say much?
How long ago was it that you applied if you're reapplying?
Well, I applied last year, and
Oh.
it was from my bachelor's program, which was 10 years old. And so I went to back to my professors and from 10 years ago, and I got letters of recommendation from them. But since I had to to update my psychology courses, I have more, recent experience with professors there that I don't know if that makes a difference. But
I would say I would kind of put that on. I don't know necessarily that it looks poorly for you to have kept the same recommendations if you already submitted them. What I will say is because this recommendation represents you, right? And you want to put your best, application forward. So if you feel like those recommendations still speak to who you are right now and how you want to be seen as an applicant, you can keep them. But if you have new ones that you feel like speak more to who you are now or the work and experience that you have at this moment, go ahead and replace them if you're able to get them.
okay.
I would let that be more of a personal choice.
Right. And as far as the biography, I mean, I update it, but I guess I'm just wondering how much to change. I don't know.
No, this is a good question. And I've answered, I don't know if it's you and I that have talked about, but I've answered this question recently. It's come up. If it was just been a year since you've applied before, again, I would have you look at that autobiography, and maybe have someone else look at it too, and just look at this whole process as a whole again. And there's some things you think you can tweak or add, or you feel like would make a difference to speak to who you are today, again, as an applicant, even since last year. You do not need to redo your whole application, unless you're not feeling confident about it for some reason. That's not an expectation of us.
Okay.
You can submit the same one, or you can just add some tweaks and things of like, I'm sure a lot of life has happened since then too. You can just add to it.
Okay.
But again, it's not like we're going to look at it differently because you're resubmitting it.
Okay.
If it worked before, don't worry about that.
All right, thanks.
Let me just move on because we're getting close to time. And again, I want to make sure that you have time to go to the other programs should you choose. And people usually have a lot of questions about the money too. So our program is a 60-unit program. You have to complete all 60 units. And the tuition as of today is $1,636 per unit. There is financial aid available. And so you would speak to the financial aid department about that. And again, there's going to be a program right after this specifically about financial aid. The department does offer scholarships, and usually we try to give some amount of money to all incoming students in varying amounts. The scholarships will help with your tuition. I will tell you they're not intended to cover your whole tuition. So we don't historically offer like full rides or enough money to cover a full year in the program, but they will help. And admitted students, so the scholarships that are listed here are available to admitted students, and you will receive information about how to apply to those once admitted. But also throughout the year, sometimes we get new funding and money as well. And so students also get more money throughout the year sometimes. And then there's also various scholarships and things within our university and outside of our university that a lot of our students apply for. Like a lot of Department of Mental Health scholarships and things like that, that many of our students have applied and actually received in the past few years as well. So there are other opportunities, even once you're admitted, to apply for different funding. But again, financial aid office will answer most of your more specific questions. And these are just some names of some contacts. But again, I would go to the financial aid workshop tonight to get more specific and update information about that process. It's super important, and you can start thinking about that now, even before you submit your application. And then just another thing to offer about having our program housed at Loyola Marymount University specifically, you as a graduate student are offered a lot of resources. You get a lot of access to resources, more than even what's listed here. Academic resources, your physical health resources, mental health resources, which are all free to you as well. Student psychological services, they have telehealth services, are free. Community care addresses other issues, well-being issues in terms of financial insecurity, food insecurities, things like that. And then other support. And then we also have a student art therapy association within our department as well that offers support in different ways too. And then just
how do you, sorry, the financial aid, do you have a link to join that, or how I could find that?
Yes. Emily's gonna put all that information in the chat and as well as soon as we wrap up. So you will get that this evening. Thank you for asking about that too. So the other thing to think about too, just in the world of this, is your professional organizations that you'll be affiliated with or can be affiliated with also as support. And they also offer scholarships and money to students. And it's the California Association of Marriage and Family Therapy, the American Art Therapy Association, and Southern California Art Therapy Association also at varying time offers money to current students and has other supports and programming. And then sometimes the questions about employment afterwards. And these are just the results of surveys that were completed from our class of 2023. We're still collecting information from our most recent class. But as you can see here, most of our graduating students are employed in the field. Most of them are working full-time. And then most of them are getting positive ratings by their current supervisors as well. And this varies. Some people decide to take a pause after graduating, or other life circumstances come up. Outcomes. And then here, I just want to make sure this gets up here before we close. If you want more information, our social media presence. So look for us on Facebook. If you're still on Facebook, look for our Instagram page, and look at our website, because that also kind of gives you a feel for who we are as a department and what our offerings are. And it's also where other events that you can join as well. For example, our research symposium that's usually in the spring around May. Parts of that may be virtual. If you're too far away, some of them are in person, you are invited to attend that. You don't have to be a current student to attend those activities. So that's also a way to kind of get to know the program